So this guy's claiming that Gen Z is cursed. I won't lie, I can agree. Now that I think about it, I can really agree. I'm gonna pick up my Uber Eats order. Ooh, my Uber Eats order is here. Wait for him to drop it off. But there's a day that changed everything. And if I have to guess for myself, I believe was right before COVID. The beginning of COVID. I'm talking about before everybody went home, because that had to lead to people going home and stuff like that. But I believe around that time. But let's get straight into the video.
January 26th, 2020 was the day everything seemed to change for the worse. It also happened to be my 15th birthday. I can't seem to remember much about the day other than the fact that I was scrambling to finish my science fair project for school. And oh yeah, one of my childhood heroes died in a helicopter crash with his daughter. I can still feel the shock of my brother texting me RIP Kobe and the subsequent Google search confirming the news. My family was never big on birthday celebrations, so I didn't have a big party to look forward to, spending much of the day coming to grips with this passing. It was the first time a celebrity death seemed to have any real impact.
You guys remember where you were Kobe died? I won't lie to you. I was shook it, but I wasn't like teary up. I remember I went to my brother. He was taking a shower. I was like, knock, knock, knock. Yo, knock, knock, knock. Yo, Kobe died. I can't lie. On my part, that was a little bad of a reaction. But let's just say I didn't know how to take it. But like, he was out of basketball. For me, he wasn't my favorite, but he was out of basketball. Yeah, the Kobe's were cool and all, but I wasn't getting Kobe's myself. But it definitely was a shook. Like, it definitely shook the world. Definitely shook my brother. I'm back. I had to get me some food, but definitely it did affect my brother and my mom and my dad.
Impact on my emotional states. I wasn't immediately overwhelmed by grief or sadness. Honestly, after I got the news, everything just felt off. I felt a deep pit in my stomach that persisted for the rest of the day, and I had trouble focusing on my science project. Unfortunately, this feeling did not subside, and the coming week, I was filled with a similar strange pit in my stomach, as well as a more bleak outlook on life. The first semester of 9th grade, I had a blast. Starting high school, making friends, it was a time of much optimism. But after Kobe passed, it felt like the joy in the world went with him. A month later, we all know what happened. All of a sudden, we were stuck inside. I'd made great strides to socialize and make friends my freshman year, and now the only communication I could have with them was over Discord. The rest of 2020 and 2021 ended up being the worst time of my life. Not because I remember it as particularly bad, but because I can hardly remember. The rest of 2020 and 2021 ended up being the worst time of my life. Not because I remember.
2020 was bad. When I tell you, like, when I say personality clash, because it was like the first time me and my family were doing boarding school. Like, me and my brothers were doing boarding school forever, and that was like the first time that we had all really been with each other, like for real, for real. And when I tell you, personality was clashing OD. Like my parents have very strong, I tell you guys what to do type of personality, and when I tell you, oh my god, it just wasn't working. But we got through it.
Remember it as particularly bad, but because I can hardly remember it at all. I can't recall any significant memories from that time of my life.
I remember Among Us. I remember TikTok. I remember that album so good. Oh my god, where is it? Oops, I hope I didn't do anything. I remember this so much. I remember this. Everybody, I feel like this even happened because of COVID. I don't recall this. I don't really recall this. I don't know where the fuck that came from. But yeah. Oh, don't get me started on that LGBTQ wave. That was just... Play the video. Oops, wrong button.
Other than Zoom classes and watching movies in my bedroom, the isolation got to me bad. I know this because of the media I consumed. BoJack Horseman, Blue is the Warmest Color, Manchester by the Sea, Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, Perfect Blue, Archie's Final Project.
Bro, what are you
All
watching?
of these are great pieces of art, but were terrible picks for an isolated high schooler who was still trying to figure out life. Eventually, we got back to the outside world, but nothing was the same. The youthful optimism and
Oh my God. You guys have no idea. When that happened, when everybody was outside again, it was not the same. It was not the same. It was like we all know we're there, but we had no contact.
the wide-eyed curiosity I possessed before had left me. My hatred for school grew exponentially, but I also had no clue what I wanted to do with my life, which created this self-fulfilling loop of misery. The rest of high school was a slog, a never-ending cycle
knew I
of
didn't wanna be
tests,
broke.
essays, and a deep longing for more from life. I just wish I could go back to that first semester of 9th grade and stay there forever. But time waits for no man, and every year that passes, that 14-year-old that I once knew grows farther and farther out of reach, and the pressures of growing up mount ever heavier. I used to make fun of millennials a lot. I would make the same tired jokes about them being the participation trophy generation and how they think they're more special than they actually are. But I no longer make these jokes because at least millennials seem to have purpose. Gen Z, by stark contrast, is clinically meandering, too afraid to publicly care about anything, yet secretly overly concerned
What
with
word is
everything.
that?
Millennials think they can make a difference. We know that we can't, so we don't even try. Unless it's
That's a big bar. Oh my gosh. That's such a big bar. Oh my. That's actually crazy. We don't try. We try to do things that are effortless, like cancel culture, stuff like that. But as far as like actually making a change, bro. That's why, like, I just voted for the first time this year. Bro, normal me will not give it a, but I was convinced by millennials to do it. Did my vote win? No. That's why I will never vote again. I already told them I will never vote again.
by damaging property or getting engagement on social media. Growing up was a lie for Gen Z. It wasn't Zac Efron dancing and playing basketball. It was 8 hours of Zoom classes for a year and masks for another. We don't want to have fun. We just want everyone to think that we are. Reality is artificial, authenticity is scarce, everything now is aura farming, nonchalant slop. If I talk to a Gen Z woman, 50% of the time I'll be subjected to incoherent word vomit about how all her friends are fake and how she needs to post again. If I talk to a Gen Z guy, 50% of the time it'll turn into a subtle contest to assert dominance and prove that you get more women, make more money, and have more fun than he does. If you try to be interested in something, you're corny and trying too hard. If someone makes you mad, you got rage baited. If you keep up with the news, you get anxious. If you don't keep up with the news, you become isolated. It feels like nothing really matters anymore. Massive events pass by like they're nothing. Time is running at 2 times
Bro, this
speed,
guy just
and
got
adulthood is not what you thought it
I work in the medical facility. When I was in the medical facility and everybody knew about the fact that this guy got shot, I had a nurse come and tell me, I wish they actually got him. I'm like, you're a nurse. Like, are you even human? You wish somebody to die, you're a nurse? That's very weird. Very, very weird.
would be. I feel like we currently occupy an alternate reality and the timeline split, like we're in a Black Mirror episode warning us of the negative effects of a prolonged period of societal isolation. Sometimes when I'm sitting alone,
And we
I
got the
imagine
COVID
myself
one.
going back to January 25th, 2020, the night LeBron passed Kobe on the all-time scorers list, and I could just warn him that I could prevent the imminent tragedy from happening. I didn't realize what Kobe Bryant meant to me until he was gone. You
I would
see,
say that
I
too.
grew up a Dallas Mavericks fan, so I spent my entire childhood rooting against Kobe whenever he'd play my team. It wasn't until his retirement that I found myself watching all of his interviews and
Yo, because right now, if there's one thing like people like Kobe and people like LeBron and people like, what's his name, on Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, what they have taught me, appreciate greatness while it's here. I won't say I did that for Kobe, but for everybody since then, I have. I can give respect. I have friends right now that they're like, well, I have a friend who's a Boston Celtics fan. He doesn't like LeBron. And Jason Tatum just tore his Achilles. He was telling me that he wishes that, what's his name, LeBron fucking has a cardiac arrest or whatever. Calm, cool, whatever. Because my brother's a huge Laker fan. Not a huge Laker fan, huge LeBron fan. I'm a Harden guy. But I appreciate LeBron. LeBron's one of my top 3. But while we were having this conversation, I'm like, bro, like, if you are just a regular basketball connoisseur, you would appreciate LeBron. And he was like, I promise you, there's no part of my body that does. When he retires or when he passes away, trust me, you'll be like, damn, I didn't appreciate this guy when he was alive. And he wouldn't be the one to miss out.
Till his retirement that I found myself watching all of his interviews and falling in love with his mindset and approach to life. He represented everything that I aspired to be like: driven, obsessive, thoughtful, curious, a man who spoke through his actions. And he will forever have a special place in my memory because of that. I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep and want to put this restlessness to use, but really, I guess this is more so just a message to myself. Maybe the timeline did split. Maybe this is the darkest timeline. Maybe growing up is not what you thought it would be. So what? Make it count while you're here.
That's a bar. That's a bar. You know what? You know what? Heck yeah. I feel motivated. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Let's make this time count. Summer school. Working. 22. Let's make it count.